Look, I spent multiple 5 figures to get this, right? That's tens of thousands of dollars. Now this is relevant to you only if you're trying to get a taste of what that investment looks like, okay? I just came back from a 3-day trip out in Scottsdale, Arizona, visiting and really soaking in the gems from 3 of my 8-figure mentors. I want to spill the tea here for you today so that you can go ahead and get that taste, right? See what that cake tastes like. See at the very least what that frosting tastes like so we can go ahead and implement that into your business here right now. So at the time of me recording this, I'm actually just getting off a meeting with my sales team where I actually broke down the top pieces. Really, I kind of broke them down into just a few core areas here, a few critical areas if you ask me. And I wanted to go ahead and actually drop these off for you here today the same way, just because I already did the work for it and I can make it that much easier for you here, right? So with that being said, let's go ahead and get straight into those gems. Okay, the first gem, if you will, planning, okay? We got into specifically quarterly planning and how powerful that can be. And I don't want you to just hear that and say planning, cool, Justice, gotcha. I'm just gonna go ahead and think about what I'm gonna do with the rest of my business going on for the next ... right? And even the fact that you're like not too sure how far ahead you want to think and what that plan should look like is maybe a reason you should get rid of that ... And let's dial it in right now. Because in reality, when it comes to the quarterly planning, we talked about in reality a couple of key pieces. Like for one, what went well over the last 90 days for you, right? What didn't go well over the last 90 days for you, right? What are some of those pieces where you really want to make sure that in a certain area you can double down on that much more right now? And 2 laser important questions, if you will, that are just as important beyond those 2 are naturally, what is the number one thing you can do to create the most impact within your business over the next 90 days, right? Over the next year, whatever that may be. It doesn't matter the duration, but having a clear understanding. And if you don't have a clear understanding, you may just have not have been in your business, in your niche, with your offer long enough. But for most of us out here who have been hitting the ground running, we know what that looks like, right? We realize that, and maybe you have to take it, once again, maybe I just say that simply because I feel like I'm always thinking about this stuff, or at least always quarterly planning in general. But with this, coming into that mindset with, what if you could just get this one thing right? It would 5x your income. 10x your income potentially, right? What is that piece there? 10x your results you're trying to get. If you can really dial what that one main piece is, and then on top of that, start to really realize what are the dominoes that can start to make that just really come into fruition. Make that a reality, that one major piece there too. I'm gonna break it down for you in another way I think will make it that much simpler, which in reality is we really like to see it, and this is really the way that, honestly, just so you all know, those 3 mentors of mine, just so we're not blowing smoke here, Jaden Easton, Chris Stapleton, Landon Stewart, awesome guys over there with clients and community. I've been there back in Mastermind for a year plus now. Just been a ton of great stuff on that side there. But past that, they mentioned this piece where I think they got the analogy from someone else, but it applies here in the business, where in reality, it's like, how do you fit inside of a glass or inside of a cup a boulder, rocks, and sand, right? There's only one order that you can do that in successfully, and that's gonna be the boulder first, then the rocks, then comes the sand there. When it comes down to that boulder, I want you to see that as your one key. What is the one major piece, like I just mentioned a moment ago here, that can, if you got this dialed in, if you got this solved and moving, would change your business, right? And then past that now, what are the rocks? If the boulder goes first, then the rocks come second. What are, like, once again, there should not be a list of like 50 things here with these rocks. You shouldn't have 50 rocks here. But what are the 2 to 3 rocks, right, that will realistically make it possible for that boulder to come into reality, right? And if you can now determine that piece, now it comes down to the sand, right? The sand is the busy work, as you can picture here, right? We've got the boulder sitting inside of this cup, right? We've got the rocks that are now starting to pile up on top of that, and the sand is the busy work that finds its way in the nooks and crannies there, right? That is the day-to-day grind that you will be producing there. And so in reality, what activities are you gonna take to make those rocks a successful activity, which can then lead to the boulder coming full force there, right? And even with that being said, it reminds me honestly of Dan Kennedy came to mind too. He talks about the importance of having principles, which leads to strategies, which leads to tactics. I see it as the same way. And the biggest thing with a lot of the planning a lot of times is that we tend to forget, we tend to go ahead and we'll make this plan, but then we don't check it again for another 90 days, right? So it doesn't keep it front of mind. And in reality, what the way that Dan Kennedy puts it is, you don't want to have it where these tactics all of a sudden that you're doing the day to day aren't congruent with your strategies. And if they're not congruent with your strategies, then they're not congruent with the principle, right? So really try and piece all that together there and keep that in mind as you're going through this, because it's one thing to go ahead, even for me, it's one thing to go ahead and get these gems from my mentors there, and right, this is just one of many mentors I have, but it's a whole other thing to actually go back and review those, right? because you really want to make sure that you're indoctrinating that inside yourself and your business there to get the most out of it on a day-to-day basis. Right, number 2 now, marketing, the gold, the money maker, how you go ahead and bring it all in, right? So the marketing here, that being said, there was 2 major pieces that they showed working for them, which has been, I think we're gonna really start to knock out the park with one of them specifically. I wanna shed some light, honestly, just to help all of you out here right now, right? So your type of marketing campaigns. Now this could be said for ad campaigns, could be said for organic campaigns. Nonetheless, we're talking between the VSL campaign and a book funnel campaign, right? I would argue that the VSL campaign, it's a more popular one, it's easier to do, and in reality, you can use it for so much more than just sending paid ads to it, right? For us, I know that we're gonna have it where in reality, we can start using this for more people that are just interested in our offer as we don't really spell it out. Right, we teach what we do called kind of offer documents and selling on that on top of selling on the phone and pieces like that inside of your business. Having this can be another great piece to put before that to really just help to increase your closing rate percentage. I say it all the time, you're never gonna have a 100% closing rate, but at the end of the day, do the little things that can help bump it up every day. Bump it up. So month to month, you're increasing, and that's why we have clients who, we got a guy, Ryan, he literally just closed a 100% closing rate on a 10K month, and it's a second 10K month in 3 months there. So understanding how to pull the right levers can be huge for you, and really that can just come from what does that path look like, right? We've talked about the flow there. I'll go ahead and drop a link to our flow training where in reality, it doesn't matter what your offer is. If there's no flow leading towards it, you'll have no success with it. And then to keep this one simple, because I think that for a lot of us here, if you're early on or if you're not realistically at 50, 100K plus per month, I highly would recommend probably not starting with this one, because this is more of especially as they describe it, a long-term play, right? This is something that you start right now. As now I'm recording this is November. In reality, you want to go ahead and understand this probably won't be rolled out until Q2 2023, right? And so if you go into that mindset, I think it's great because it can be such one of the best pieces about that. And we're talking books, right? It's like, you have a book that you go ahead and write. Just to be clear about what I mean when I say book funnel, right? And with that being said, it can be a great way to stand out from your competition, right? You are a person who just has a published piece of work that just separates you that much more from everyone else inside the marketplace who doesn't have one, right? It's like now you're playing with everyone right here. You get a book now that's elevating you beyond everyone else who's just like, well, how long have you been doing this? Have you helped people? Blah, blah, blah. Now you've got that validation piece on top. So that's the other piece as well too. And I'll say, just to add on to this, we've had success in reality with the VSL side, but also really even just the lead magnet. At the very least, use that to get you going. But just like even Jim Edwards says, if you don't know him, Copywriting Secrets, Russell Brunson copywriter there, in reality, a paid buyer is always better than a free lead, right? So I'm not saying that you shouldn't get out there and leverage free lead magnets to go ahead and bring people in. We've been doing that for a long time, so working very well. But beyond that, if you can turn a buyer into a paid lead, turn a buyer and to get them into a sales conversation, it's gonna be just that much more direct, right? We don't want to be seeking out freebie seekers here. And that's a great way to kind of minimize that. Okay, if marketing's the money maker, then sales is that's printing the money. Come on now, let's jump into sales here right now. With that piece, one of the big things I took from it honestly was, how can you make sure that your sales process is as efficient as possible there, right? Prioritizing lead flows. I speak a lot about curated opportunities within your process, and I think that is like at the bare minimum. If you don't have curated opportunities within your sales flow, I would patch that up very quickly on that side there too. Let me know down in the comments if you want to make a training on curate opportunities there. Happy to, because in reality, I think that is something that is like a baseline you need, because then when you have that, you can start to understand where some of your hotter buyer leads, in all honesty, are coming from. And now you can start to prioritize that lead flow instead of maybe just kind of getting stuck doing what you've been doing and not paying attention to the data, right? A lot of time our ego kicks in when in reality, let the data tell you the truth, right? Listen to what the numbers are telling you, listen to what your prospects are telling you, and that's gonna serve you far more than just you trying to Einstein it by yourself in a cold room, right? So with that being said, a major part of the sales piece that I definitely took from them, honestly, was just making sure that you're efficient there. Make sure that you're leveraging your team members in the best way possible, right? Because in reality, they are an extension of yourself there, especially if you have a sales team, right? And maybe even when I started, I had my VA doing a little bit of sales work for me. So just as a whole, start to really look back and see what it is that you want to dial in on, and make sure that your process is aligned with that, right? Which is why a lot of this planning can be so powerful, because now you start to realize Are these activities in line with where I want to take my business? Next part of the sales portion here. I got two more for the sales piece. Next piece right now, make more offers. That's another key piece that got taken away. Well, it doesn't matter what platform it is, right? We're big on Facebook, but in general, make more offers. Another mentor, 8-figure mentor there too, Travis Sago, powerful player. If you know him, you know him. You don't look him up. But he told me something that was really hit home, I feel like, because in reality he said, if you want to have a 10K month, you have to make $10,000 worth of offers, right? If you want to have, and in reality, making that $10,000 worth of offers, who has a 100% closing rate, right? So at the very least, let's say you have a 50% closing rate. That's a solid closing rate right there. You have to make $20,000 worth of offers. So just go ahead and keep it to the basics there. Having that, I think what was so powerful about just hearing that again from these 3 mentors was just because how it hit home again. It's something that, we can so easily get caught up on marketing and sales and just really keep up with the same tactics, when in reality, just get out there and make more offers, right? And really this could fit inside of the marketing pillar, if you will, part of this video. But I just think that as a whole, it's going to increase your sales there, right? That's why I put this right here, because in reality, the more offers you make, the more money you will make, period, right there, right? And then the last big piece there, honestly, is of the sales section, I should say, is the recurring income, right? If you can go ahead and generate yourself, if you don't know it, right, we love high ticket here, right? High ticket, $1,000 days, that's what my business was made off of, and all of that, right? But in reality, if you can create some supplemental income through recurring income within your business, it can really just help now cover ad costs, cover mentorship costs, cover just regular day-to-day operating expenses within your business there, to now allow you to leverage more of your other income to fuel your business there, right? Or if, at the very least, create that freedom and pocket it and pay taxes on it, right? There's nothing wrong with paying taxes at the end of the day if you want to go ahead and just serve your family, get a vacation, whatever the case may be, right? So that's another big piece as well that can play there. And this can be, once again, I'd see that as a long-term play as well. You don't want to have it divert all your energy from your high ticket, but definitely dial in and make that a part of your business here, starting this month. All right, I've got 2 more major pillars left here. These are gonna be huge for you if you're thinking about starting to build a team, haven't started to build a team yet, especially if you've already got a team. All right, looking to hire your first VA, whatever the case is there. So before we get into it, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below if you're getting some value out of this. Hit that like button. Let's keep this party rocking. Okay, so for this next one here, we're talking client success, right? This doesn't matter. I said before, it matters if you have a team. In reality, this is still, client success is critical whether you have a team or not, honestly, here on this side. And I think that one of the biggest takeaways that I got, honestly, was a guy, Justin Poulet, is a part of their team there as well. He's their client success director. And he just really ingrained this as well too, where in reality, it comes back to have your students, have your clients focus on what is going to get them results. And I think that when you first hear that, right, maybe right now it's like, duh, right? But at the end of the day, think about what you truly are checking up with them on. Think about what maybe like your guarantee involves them doing. Think about where you're pushing them the most right now to do. Right? And I think that part of that comes to me, and the word he used really that I think hit home for me as well, was just that a lot of students can get stuck in consumption mode. And what happens there is now you're not taking action. And without action, 0 results will happen there, right? So that's where in reality, maybe you want them to show up to your calls. You want them to watch your course. You want them to go through the material. But at the end of the day, just going through that, as we all know, will not get them the results, right? If all they do is just soak this stuff in, it's like the whole idea of just buying a book, right? Buying a book is great, but in reality, just consuming that information and not having implementable steps, that's why books don't get people where they want to get to 99 out of 100 times, right? It takes a lot more than that. It can provide, especially if you're on a play, you're on a plan, you're moving on a strategy, a book can help provide that fuel to fill in the cracks and the nuances there. But that is something you want to really dial into. I'm going to urge you to really look at your client success plan and layout and see maybe where you're focusing a bit more on something that can kind of tip them over into the consumption route, and not as much where you need to be pushing them into the action taking route, right? Let's get that action movie dialed in. I want to see you putting them in 007 mode, because in reality, the faster we get them going there, the better your client results are. And that to me is just a guarantee on that side. So really just think about ways that you can go ahead and actually create that action, gamify it potentially, right? Give them rewards for taking certain actions, give them reviews for taking certain actions, give them incentive. The more that you can go ahead and do that, you think that's like, well, I tell my team this, or I used to say it all the time because I think we got past this now, but I remember sounding like a broken record before where I would say, I hate when coaches are out there and they will tell you, I can help them get to the water, but I can't make them drink it, right? I think that though there is potentially some truth to that, as I'm saying it out loud, to default on that is a terrible mindset as a coach, right? Terrible mindset there. You have to think, what can you do? You are laying out the framework. You're laying out the strategy there, right? I was listening to a training the other day when someone had mentioned, hey, what happens if someone's out there selling fertilizer to make your lawn better? Or they're selling you a greener lawn, right? Their product is they'll get you a greener lawn. But the way that you get the greener lawn is you have to sit out there every night at midnight, go out there, dig up the dirt with your hands, spit on it for 10 minutes, fill the dirt back up, and then go back out there and do it every night at midnight. It's like, can you blame the students, the clients, if they don't want to do that, right? And yes, you'll probably, it's like, hey, if you do this, you will get that green lawn. But in reality, no one's going to fall through with that. So look at what your strategy is. I use that dramatic example here because I want you to take a look at your pieces, right? And see if you are leading them on the right path. Because at the end of the day, sometimes we stick with something for so long, we don't really feel like changing it because we feel like it's already set, right? So yeah, just take a deeper look there, and I promise, even I start getting some nuggets that start popping up there, light bulb moments where it's like, ooh, too much consumption mode here. Let's dial in on the action there. And the last one, the biggest one to me, maybe it's just because I love teams, I love systems, I love all this stuff there, but really in reality, the last big one here, culture. Culture. If I had to wrap around a bit more to embody that, I would say culture, team, and vision. One of the pieces you have to keep in mind when it comes to creating a great culture, right? And I think that really, these three mentors, honestly, they embody this heavily there too. I've definitely learned a lot from them on the culture side. And I think in reality, you have to start and think about what is the vision for your company, right? What is the vision for your company? What does your company stand for? The more that you can dial in your core values and really embody that within your team, within your company culture, right? It could be a company of 2 people, right? The more that you can plant those seeds earlier, the better, right? That's why I love that saying, the way you start something is the way you finish it. And I think the sooner, I wish I got my company's core values down sooner than later, honestly, because now it can just start to help push everyone in the right direction. Understands we're all on this one track heading forward, understands how we want to operate. And right now you may be thinking like, what should my core values even be? And if I was you, I'd start to think about, how do you operate in your business? What drives your business decisions? What drives you to make the decisions that you make on a day-to-day basis, right? I think if you can start to nail that down and just really think about it at its core, it will start to really shift your team members. Because a lot of the times it's tough to put this in words when you're just kind of just thinking about it out loud on the spot. But if you can take some deep thinking time to really map this out, I think that is one of those pieces where, this of course, if you have a team of, once again, a team of 2, a team of 5, a team of 10, a team of 50, a team of 1,000, right? The sooner you can get this down in, the better you will be long-term forward, the more support you'll have, the more loyalty you have, the more buy-in you will have from anybody working with you. And one piece I want to really add to really tack on top of that there, honestly, is just transparency. I think the more transparent, and I realize this, a lot of this comes, well, I think for me it was tough when I was first getting started in the team building side of things, the vulnerability, right? I really feel like for myself there, I was not as vulnerable as I needed to be with my team, honestly. And I think that is one of the things that really took a lot of work to get to where I am now, honestly. But just in reality, if you can be transparent with your team members there, that goes such a long way, right? And they'll appreciate that. I believe if you want to keep A players, you need transparency, right? They want to be surrounded by people who they know are growing, right? The wins, the losses, what's on your mind as you're going through the trenches there. I think it's huge, right? So we have an absolutely results-driven team as far as our culture goes. But one of the things I want to give you as a great tip here is share numbers with your team, right? Share the P&L statement. Share the numbers just on a daily basis, right? What's the revenue at today? What are all the numbers that you keep track of as far as your KPIs, your key performance indicators? Where are you at on a month to date, right? Like if you have, we're big on using Slack internally for our team there, right? Like post that up in a Slack channel. Put that up in your Facebook group internal team, on a message board, WhatsApp, whatever you use. Just the more transparent you can be, pushing towards that ultimate goal, I guarantee you it will fuel the team that much more. Yourself, honestly. I'd be lying if I said it didn't fuel myself up as much as I hope it fuels them up, honestly, there too. I think it takes things to the next level. You can truly have that, and it comes with being vulnerable and being willing to put yourself out there, because if you're not, your team is not going to be as inspired to do it for you. I can tell you that much right now. Now, I mentioned earlier a client of ours, Ryan, he went ahead and actually doubled. It was really like 3 to 4x, honestly, his income, where he hit those 10K months there at 100% closing rate for one of them. So if you want to go and actually, I did a whole YouTube video on that. They actually, we'll drop that link up there on really how I was able for myself to double my income through content creation there, right? So go ahead and click it right there at the top. Make sure we get you plugged into that, because if you can start applying everything from this video and really start to get your messaging and marketing out, and with it, it will take your business to the next level there. So by all means, like and subscribe to this channel if you got some value here today. I'm super pumped to have you here. And as always, you are designed to become who you choose to be. We'll catch you later.